This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel. If you have an immigration problem or you want some immigration advice, then get in touch with me and I'll do my best to help you. Further disturbing news about the hostile environment has come out, which highlights, in my view, the need for some sort of targeted amnesty or a scheme to regularise those that have been in the United Kingdom for a considerable period of time and who clearly aren't going to be removed. I say that as there are some 1 million or so undocumented migrants in the United Kingdom, and last year apparently 1 million people entered the UK legally. So clearly there is the space for people in the United Kingdom. Turning to the hostile environment. Well, apparently the hostile environment has got so hostile that it has prevented people from visiting the doctor even if they are severely ill. This is particularly inhumane, but it chimes with the right-wing rhetoric coming from the Secretary of State. The 25th of May 2022 marks the 10-year anniversary since the then Secretary of State and failed Prime Minister Theresa May vowed to create a really hostile environment for illegal immigrants. And while she clearly failed as a Prime Minister, she certainly has made things hostile for people that are in the country without status. I say that the hostile environment has failed because its purpose was to encourage people that didn't have documentation to leave the United Kingdom voluntarily. This is something that has not worked. The number of voluntary departures continues to decrease year on year. So it's time for a reset, one might think. A report published by the Institute of Public Policy Research provides, and I quote from it, "The available evidence suggests that the hostile environment forces people into poverty and destitution, denying them rights to essential goods and services, but it does not necessarily encourage them to leave the United Kingdom in greater numbers. Further evidence of it failing. The hostile environment itself, as people will be aware, has created barriers and divisions in communities, done great harm to individuals and damaged the very fabric, in my view, of our society. The government needs, in my view, again, to focus on creating fast routes to regularising those people that are in the country without status and address the inefficiencies in the system rather than punishing people by pursuing cruel and hostile policies that are designed to cause no more than misery. The hostile environment, looking back over the last 10 years, has created an atmosphere of suspicion and hostility towards migrant communities and has, in my view, arguably given a licence for racial discrimination as landlords, employers and other unqualified private citizens and public servants have been given responsibility for carrying out immigration checks and acting as gatekeepers to services. Hospitals receiving NHS funds have been told to conduct ID checks on patients before treatment in order to bill them if they are found not to be eligible for NHS care. There are a whole host of reasons as to why migrants may end up without documentation. Studies show that most undocumented migrants actually entered the United Kingdom lawfully, not in a boat across the Channel, and have ended up without proper documentation through no fault of their own. An example of a college losing its licence, which has thrown the student into a state of uncertainty, or a false Toeic allegation could render an ambitious migrant who wishes to reside and contribute to the United Kingdom becoming illegal and therefore compelled to support themselves in whilst they clear their name by working in the black economy, something that I do not encourage, but something that unfortunately happens. It seems to me that looking back over the last 10 years of the hostile environment, the government ought to, and 10 years is probably a reasonable time, review whether it has actually served its purpose, whether it continues to serve its purpose, whether there is any purpose in continuing it. In my view, there certainly is no purpose in continuing it. All it does is create misery, cause a great deal of distress to people. And when it comes where it's got to the stage where even severely ill people cannot go to the doctor or are frightened to go to the doctor, then it's time for what is supposed to be a liberal democracy in the 21st century to look again at its immigration policies. Something apparently this government refuses to do, despite Boris Johnson's promises, and we all know what they're worth, pushing for an amnesty, or promises is probably putting it too high, but he's consistently, or previously, or prior to becoming Prime Minister, pushed for an amnesty, and yet having become Prime Minister has become Delphically silent on the matter. No surprise there. However, I digress, and there will be another video on a new amnesty petition coming out shortly. However, if you are caught in the hostile environment and you want to do something about your immigration status, then do get in touch with me and I will do everything I can to help you. Indeed, there are a great number of people who actually are in the country without documentation, who are under the immigration rules or outside them, entitled to stay if only they make an application. So again, if you have a problem, you're worried about your immigration status, then get in touch with me and I'll give you some honest advice. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's a sorry state of affairs to be celebrating, if that's the right word, 10 years of the hostile environment. But I thought it was worth making a video, just reminding everyone that we have lived under 10 years of it and it has failed in its purpose. Thank you very much for watching again. Do stay safe. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers.